Hey there, everybody. Wow, it's been a long time. Looks like we got one person on here. I don't know who it is, but we have one. And it's also 12:30 in the morning, so there's that. We adjust the lights here a little bit. Oh, we got two. Now we got two. So it's been a long time. Let me move some of this. Get rid of that crap. Let's get rid of this crap too. So it's been a long time since I've done a live stream. Actually, it's been quite a while since I've even done a video. And something inside of me says that I owe all of you guys an apology. Why, dang, we missed you. I know, I know. And now we got 8 people watching. This might get kind of emotional for me, and if it does, I'm going to apologize now for that. But um, David Fisher, how are you doing? Yeah. So, not to make excuses, and I'm not one to make excuses, and I'm not one to sit back and be like, "Hey, this happened, and this is why, and whatever." But I can tell you, um, for those that don't know, I lost my father-in-law a couple of years ago, and he was he was my right hand man. I mean, we wherever he went, I was there. Wherever I went, he was there. Um, he was a part of me that I will never get back. And as soon as I lost him, it completely knocked me off my horse, completely derailed me. Um, all I did was put emphasis into my family, the people around me, my career, even pushed stuff to the back burner. And the YouTube thing was one of those things that got pushed to the back burner. And uh, I feel like I owe all of you guys an apology for that. Um, it's been tough. It's been tough. When I say it's been tough, it's been one of the hardest things I've ever had to deal with was losing him, and I had no idea how much it was going to affect me, and how much it was going to affect all of you all because of. So uh, I've I've come to the realization that I knew it all along. He's not coming back. Um, all we can do is persevere and move forward and move on and make things what we want them to be. And holy crap, now we got 14 people on here and it's 12:35 in the morning. Um, but that's what's happened. And like I said, I apologize to all of you. I've got tons of footage to edit. I've got some stuff that I've recorded recently that I need to edit. I'm actually working on a video right now. I started working on it a month ago, and I couldn't get through it. It was one of those things. I just couldn't sit down in front of the computer and force myself to spend the 5 or 6 hours to get through it. But it's going to be a great video. We were doing a cell phone tower. We were working at night. They got my rope hung up in the top of the tower. It was 10 o'clock at night. No one could see anything. We had guys 240 feet in the air trying to get my rope untangled. And yeah, I mean, it was the mess of messes when it comes to crane worlds without turning one over. And I'm in the middle of editing that. Um, but I just, for some reason, I couldn't get through it. And I thought about it, and I've got a picture. I'm going to reach up here. So the way my studio is laid out, I've got my monitor right here in front of me. I've got a camera right up here. I've got a couple lights. I've got my blacked out wall with the YouTube channel here, and right here to my right, I've got a picture stuck on my computer, and this is my mother and father-in-law. I know it's kind of blurred out, or kind of whatever, but this guy right here, yeah, it's really kicked the crap out of me the last few years, way more than I ever would have thought, way, to the point that 513 101 brothers have always been great to work with. Hope life gets better for you soon. Thanks for that, local 513. So much so that I have started a memorial tattoo, and it is going to take up my whole arm. I'll scoot back a little bit and let you guys maybe see. So this tractor is, and it's kind of scabbed over a little bit, International 1206, which don't hate on me, International guys, because the front wheels are red. Normally the 806 front wheels are red and the 1206 are white. But yeah, same thing. And then also, if you go around, and this is going to be a full sleeve, when you go around to the backside, he always deer hunted with a red flannel shirt. So we got a red flannel shirt hanging on a fence post, and there should be a rifle right there sitting next to it. And he was big on lone pine, and this is a pinyon pine. They lived in Missouri for a while, and then they moved to South Fork, Colorado, and they had these pinyon pines outside of their house. And I'm like, hey, if you knock the top of that pine tree out, you would be able to see the top of this mountain. He's like, you leave my pine trees alone. So I'm like, we got to include the pinyon pine. Even though I'm not a fan of pinyon pines, I now have one on my arm. But Russell, I've got a lot of respect for you, man. You're very knowledgeable. I love your content. You've got a life. You don't have to apologize to us for that. And that's one of the things that kills me. I love you guys for that. I mean, the support that I've always gotten on this channel is unbelievable and unwavering. It blows my mind. Actually, if I was to sum it all up into one word, I would call it humbling. And the reason why I say that is Randy with G4 Outdoors, and I'm going to plug Randy's channel real quick, even though he's kind of not making content either, kind of like where I'm at. Randy with G4 Outdoors, he and I have been basically brothers for years and years and years. And he told me one day, he's like, if you started a YouTube channel and took a camera to work with you and recorded what you're doing, he said it would be sensational. And so Randy actually talked me into doing this YouTube thing. So if you get an opportunity to go to G4 Outdoors and say hi to Randy, go do that. But I actually talked to him less than 10 minutes ago, and I told him, I'm like, hey, I'm thinking about doing a live stream. I'm thinking about jumping back into the YouTube thing with both feet, but I feel like I need to let everybody know what's going on or what's gone on. And that's it. I mean, for the last few years, I've been kind of treading water. I've been going to work. I've been being a husband, been being a father, being a friend, and doing life, and not really paying attention to anything that's outside of that. And the YouTube thing was the thing that slipped through the cracks. And now seeing the support that everybody, I mean, I'm still gaining 50 subscribers a month. I'm still getting views on everything. Getting great comments and feedback. I jump on at 12:41 in the morning. We had 22 people watching. Now we got 18, which, I mean, there's people going to bed, whatever. I'm rambling. It blows my mind, and I'm humbled. I'm completely humbled by all of you. and I appreciate that. Um, Murphy's Law Firm. Good day from Australia. Good day, Murphy's. And that's one. My wife's like, "You're not really going to do a live stream at 12:30 in the morning, are you?" I'm like, honey, I've got subscribers all over the world. There's probably people awake in Australia. I have no idea what time it is in Australia, but I guarantee there's people awake in Australia and New Zealand and other places around the world. So, granted, there might not be a lot of people awake in Missouri, in the United States where we're at. I guarantee there is in Australia. Oh, Murphy says 3:51 p.m. there. So yeah. But so this is where I'm at with it. I'm going to jump back in with both feet. I got knocked off the horse. I basically got my ass handed to me. And I know this is a family friendly channel and it's 12:42. If your kids are still awake, your kids are old enough to hear ass. And if they're not old enough to hear ass, you're a shitty parent. So now you got that. Yeah, when my father-in-law died, I got my ass handed to me. Completely knocked me off the horse. Didn't know where to ride, didn't know how to ride, didn't know how to get back on it. I got to pick it up and just move on. I got to go. I got to do it. So moving forward, I'm gonna do crane videos. I might throw some other stuff in the middle of it. I'm not going to change the name of the channel to anything but To the Top Crane because that's what Randy suggested was To the Top Crane. However, you might see a video of me wiring up a subwoofer in a car. You might see a video of me building a speaker box. You might see a video of me working on a lawnmower. I mean, there's so many different facets of what I do every day that might help people out that I feel like I should probably record that. I don't know how many times I was working on something like, man, I should have recorded that because people could use this information and do something with it. So I'm going to try to start doing that. Let's see. I don't know how to pronounce that, but from Alaska, I have missed your heck of an operator. I lost my landlord. He was like a son at age 47, March 2022. By his choice, I'm still hurting and grieving. Thanks for showing your hurt. Yeah, and losing someone close to you is tough. And some people can roll through it without missing a beat. Lawnmower, great to see you again, Jimmy. Man, that's why I love you guys. The support is just unreal. I can disappear for a year and a half, and then here you are. Great to see you again. And man, it means a lot. You guys have no idea how much it means. But to lose somebody close to you, like I said, some people can just bounce right through it, and no harm, no foul. They just go on like nothing happened. Ordinarily, I'm one of those people. I'm actually one of those people that would probably, if you met me and sat down and talked to me on a daily basis or in a realistic situation, you would probably think, man, this guy's kind of heartless or cold, or callous. Maybe, man, I don't know what other adjectives we could throw in there. But honestly, I'm not really that kind of person. I might be that way on the outside, but this one's been tough. For over 2 years, it's been tough. Art Mount watching from Fresno, California, 10:44 p.m. here. Sounds like your right hand man was a great man. And it's funny you say that, Art. And here's why. And I can't really say it's funny. The reason why I have all this on my right hand, on my right arm, is because I really, truly felt like my father in law was my right hand man. And I mean, I've got this whole left arm with nothing on it. And I feel like to him, I was his right hand man. But actually, if you guys are up for, I got to stop getting runny nose because of emotions and stuff. But if you guys are up for a quick story, we'll backstory this whole thing real fast. Back clear up to 1998, I met my wife. We were not married. We were just kind of dating. Her dad's a farmer. I was kind of a city boy, but grew up bird hunting, rabbit hunting, deer hunting, being out in the wilderness, being kind of a country boy, but not growing up on a farm. Grew up, I had neighbors on both sides of us, lived in a town of 76,000 people. Um, Fast forward a little bit, I meet my wife. I'm at her house, and her dad comes home from work and immediately changes his clothes and goes straight to his barn. And I looked at my wife. I said, and at the time we were just dating, I said, I'm going to go down and I'm going to talk to your dad. And she just laughed. My mother in law was there. And after a few hours go by, apparently my mother in law asked, or my wife asked my mother in law, should we go down and check on him? Because maybe dad has buried him by now. What had actually happened is I got down there and he was working on his old, I think it was a case backhoe, and was trying to figure it out. And I jumped in with both hands and both feet and just started helping him work on it. And we started talking about stuff and doing stuff and hanging out, and it never stopped. For 23 years, it never stopped. We were inseparable basically for 23 years. I was a field mechanic for an equipment rental company in the United States. Now it's United Rentals, but at the time it was RSC Equipment Rental. So I had a service truck with a welder in it. He was a farmer. He broke stuff. I fixed stuff. It was a perfect fit, and we only lived a mile apart. So everywhere he was, there I was with him, whether it was to help him or learn from him or see what he was doing. And, you know, fast forward to 2021 and he's gone. I lost all of it. So that completely kicked me off my horse. And I didn't know how to move forward. I didn't know how to keep doing the stuff outside of my family. I basically got laser focused and tunnel vision on taking care of my mother-in-law, my wife, my kids, my sister-in-law, because my wife doesn't have any siblings other than an older sister. And so I was the only boy in the family. Basically, when I came about, I became his only son and my mother-in-law's only son. And he and I would go drive after we'd go fishing or hunting or whatever. We'd go have dinner, and then we would just go drive back roads, and we would talk about finances, and we would talk about farming stuff and what was to be done with this and what was to be done with that if something happened, and never really gave it any second thought because I never grasped the concept that there would be a day that I would have to sit back and be like, hey, that something's happened. Now, now here I am trying to figure out how to pick the pieces up and move forward. And so for the last few years, I've been laser focused on how do we best financially and physically take care of my mother-in-law after moving her back from Colorado, which was that was a feat in itself. Had it not been for my brothers and a couple of friends of mine, that would have never happened. But we got her all moved back. We actually found her a house to move into that is literally 1,000 feet away from our house. Um, but how do we move forward? How do we go forward without the person that has solidified and put everything into place for our family? Um, and now that he's gone, how do we do that? And so I became laser focused on that. I literally just poured over what would he want me to do? How would he want my mother-in-law to be set up? How would he want my sister-in-law and my wife to be set up? How would he want everything handled, and where would he want it to go? Because there was no will left on his side, because I honestly don't think he felt like it was something that was coming. So yeah, overwhelming to say the least. So I'm gonna jump into a couple comments real quick, and again, I apologize for being. I mean, I'm literally on the verge of emotions, even though it's been a couple of years. But yeah, let's see. How did your wife take it? Is she okay, Russell? My wife didn't take it well. No one in my family took it well. It was completely a shock. Not something anybody anticipated. Um, yeah, she took it about like swallowing a box of nails. It was bad, and it still is at times. Todd Scholes, I started watching you 2 years ago and missed your videos that you shared with all of us. Wish you had a great life on your journey to heal with all your family and friends and us. Amen. Thanks for that, Todd. David Fisher, how are you doing? Says I went to a meet and greet in Tell City, Indiana to see some of the YouTubers from Derby. That's wearing a Two Top Crane t-shirt. Everyone asked for you a pin. Oh, Tell City. So you went and saw Wade and everybody. And man, talk about a great group of people. Those people in southern Indiana around Tell City, great people. Um, if you dive back, what's it been, 3 years ago on Logger Wade's channel, there's a live stream with myself and Wade on his channel. I had a beard down to about maybe here. And Logger Wade took my son and I into his house with open arms. We had dinner together, we hung out together, we spent time and hung and just were real people with each other outside of this social media influencer thing and YouTube thing and whatever. And we were having dinner and just having a basic conversation. And I said something that evidently picked Wade's interest. We were talking about a JLG boom lift. He's like, we have to get on a live stream. And so we jumped on a live stream on Logger Wade's channel, and my channel blew up with, I think, 600 subscribers in 20 minutes or something. I don't know. It was crazy. Murphy's Law Firm. Don't apologize, mate. It's very hard when we lose loved ones. I know it's hard, and um, I'm really, I really don't want everybody on here to think I'm looking for sympathy, because I am absolutely not looking for sympathy. I want everybody to understand where I've been and where I'm at and how I'm moving forward. Um, we've gotten a lot of hugs. We've gotten a lot of sympathy. We've gotten a lot of whatever from everybody. And I honestly, I don't want people to think, man, he came on here for a pity party, because that's not it at all. At all. I came on here because I feel like with close to 20,000 subscribers, I owe all of you, anybody that takes the time to watch this video, I owe all of you an explanation of why I've been gone, and what I'm doing moving forward. And that's why I'm on this live stream at 12:56 a.m. on a Saturday. Well, actually, it's a Sunday morning now in Missouri, because that's why I've been gone. That's where I am, mentally as a person. Is honestly, no BS about it. For the last few years, I've been freaking lost. I've been going to work and coming home, going to work and coming home, going to work and coming home, and the creativity bug's gone. I mean, I could sit down in front of my computer and try to edit something. And it just feels like I couldn't put anything together, and it's not because I'm looking for sympathy. It's because a piece of me has gone. It's time for that piece of me to come back. I owe it to all of you to make that happen, and that's what's going to happen. You might get more than crane videos. Actually, I can promise you, you're going to get more than crane videos. Um, my only my only regrets with this YouTube channel, and it's not really a regret. Um, Randy with G4 Outdoors actually named this channel because when we were talking about it, he's like, you need to do this YouTube thing, and I'm like, I don't even know what I would call it. And Randy's like, To the Top Crane. I'm like, perfect. There it is, To the Top Crane. My only regret with this channel is narrowing it down to crane stuff. Um, there's so much more stuff that I do than cranes, and not as a career, but I feel like there's so much stuff that I could be recording in my garage or outside of my house or working on someone's car. Um, I would really, actually, I'm going to pause for just a quick second. I'm going to go into this. This is one of my favorite videos you made, was fishing them huge logs out of the river. Yeah, that was a fun one. This is going to sound crazy. This is something I would really like to do on this channel. And we've got 19 people watching. It's fluctuating back and forth, 24 to 19, whatever. I would like some feedback, and you guys let me know what you think. And I've been kind of chewing on this for a little bit. David Fisher said, crane videos are what guys started watching. You are away. We stuck around. Oh, you are why we stuck around. So this is something I've kind of been chewing on. And there's some other people that actually do some stuff like this on YouTube. There's a lot of kids out there that don't have dads. There's a lot of kids out there that don't know how to do squat when it comes to anything in real life scenarios. They can't change a tire. They can't jack up their car. They can't fix dinner. They can't turn a screwdriver the right way. They don't know righty tighty and lefty loosey. They don't know what a quarter 20 bolt is. They don't. I mean, there's so many different avenues, that a person could go on YouTube to help other people. Mark Mortensen, how are you doing? I'm gonna jump into this comment real quick. Good seeing you here, and I feel for you. I remember when you were working on your Dodge pickup. Do you do anything you do is fine with me? You can be a great mentor on YouTube to the others, just like your father-in-law. So this is kind of what I've been chewing on, and you guys let me know what you think. What if we did primarily crane videos, maybe some rigging stuff here and there, some educational stuff sprinkled in with it, but also some real life stuff? Like some stuff that kids could, not even kids, middle aged, whatever, people that don't know how to do stuff could tune in and actually watch. And not watch for the views, but watch to help them out, to make them better. Honestly, this whole thing started off with, oh my gosh, there'd be a lot of people that watch crane videos. And then it kind of took a little bit of a turn to, oh my gosh, this could be an educational channel where we're teaching people to do some things. And then, like in the world of cranes, and then to, wow, this could be just reach everybody that's in the construction industry. What if we could reach beyond that and help a kid change a tire on the side of the road? What if we could reach beyond to the top crane and help a kid hook up his trailer? I mean, something as benign as hooking up a trailer. I mean, there's people that legitimately don't know how to do that. But that can also be the difference between life and death or actually pulling a trailer down the road. Something as simple as loading a trailer correctly or tying something down, or, I don't know. Maybe I'm getting out over the end of my skis. Let's see. Ron Briggs, I've actually learned a number of things about cranes from watching your videos, and it's helped to record what you want. We will watch it. Murphy's Law sounds great, mate. We will watch anything you video. Donald Mason, I think it would be a great idea. So, as much as you guys have kind of helped me, like push me forward and keep me moving forward, I kind of feel like I'd be giving back if I actually put some stuff out there that some people could use on the day-to-day life stuff. I don't know. It's something to chew on. I've got this channel name right here, To the Top Crane, so everybody knows it's crane related. Would it be too much to think that maybe we could push that beyond cranes? Should we go To the Top Crane and more? I mean, I don't know. Russell says, I think it's a great idea. It might be worth a whole different channel in itself, if you can imagine, of course. Lawnmower, I think it sounds cool. Some vlog style videos too. And realistically, it's easier every day with these. So this is a Note 20 Ultra. Randy with G4 Outdoors, if you're watching, you can chime in, because I know you're going to hate on the fact that I still don't have an iPhone. Probably not going to have an iPhone. My wife's really leaning towards an iPhone. I almost talked myself into an iPhone, and then I talked myself back out of an iPhone. One of the reasons why is, oh, come on out of there. Where you at, little stylus? This is a game changer when you have fat thumbs. So, yeah, there's that. So I still have the old Note 20 Ultra, which is a phablet, as some people call them, phone tablet. But with this, I could essentially record anything that I'm doing at any time that I felt was relevant or useful to anybody else in the world that maybe didn't know how to do a certain thing, or would be stifled by the fact that they had no idea on what they were getting themselves into. Does that make sense? Lawnmower To the Top Crane and beyond. Show us how to check the oil, jack the pickup off the ground, and change the tire. People need to know this. Keep to the top. Murphy's Law. Yes, Lawnmower. So, I mean, there is another channel scenario. A person could dive into that. It's hard to keep up with one channel. Two channels would be theoretically twice as difficult. Also, would the second channel get the views that the first channel does? Because I can promise you, with 18,000, almost 18,000 subscribers, not all of them are going to go to a second channel. So, would the second channel actually get the views and recommendations that the first channel does? Um, or if I branched out a little bit, would this first channel suffer because of the fact that I'd be doing stuff other than crane work? So, I mean, it's a catch 22. Let's see. Todd says, yes, sounds good and what you want to help others learn. So realistically, it's going to sound a little bit, I don't know, maybe a little bit crazy. I don't know. I feel like we are put here to help other people. Now, if you break it down fundamentally, we're probably here to expand our species and whatever. I'm not getting into all that. But if I have an opportunity to help someone else, why would I not take that? Let's see. Russell says it's off subject. I know, but I've been considering recording my own crane videos on YouTube. But I need to start a channel of my own. I run Ortiz boom trucks, all terrains, and I rig. Okay, Russell, here's what I will answer for you on that topic. You're going to have to learn video editing. The reason why I say that is because if you come to the channel, the first video that you'll see that starts auto playing is the one where we have our crane set up on the riverbed, a crane pad that they'd built and whatnot in the middle of the riverbed. That video, I think, is over an hour long. It took me approximately 28 hours to edit that video. So, in the world of cranes, and I've had this discussion, actually, I've had this discussion tonight with my wife and with Randy with G4. It is hard to do crane videos in a timely fashion because there's so much editing involved in it. The reason why I say that is, say I go out to do a job that takes 10 hours. I'm going to record roughly 6 hours of footage because when I'm getting ready to do something, I'm going to hit record. It may take 10 minutes, it may take 2 hours to get through whatever we started to do. Ultimately, you're probably going to end up with 6 to 8 hours of raw footage. You're going to have to take that footage and you're going to have to watch all 6 to 8 hours and determine what amount of footage you want to use for your video. You have to pull that footage out, throw it in a timeline, go through it, figure out what you want to blur out as far as company names, people that don't want to be in videos, stuff that maybe would be questionable for showing, which I typically show most everything in my videos. Most of the videos on this channel are pretty raw. I don't blur out OSHA violations or any of that crap. I figure if OSHA wants to come talk to me because of something they see in my video, bring it. Pull up a lawn chair, grab a cup of coffee, we'll sit down and talk about it, whatever they want to do. But there are a lot of things that you're going to have to edit on your video, and then you're going to take that, let's call it 4 hours of footage, and you're going to pick through all that footage and decide how much of it you want to use to make your 15 to 30 minute long video. And then once you get that in place, you're going to watch it and say, man, I wish I had a certain kind of background music. So then you're going to go through and you're going to try to find user friendly background music that you don't have to pay royalties to. Throw that in your video, watch all that, make sure that it works seamlessly, add an intro and an outro, and then upload it. So, Russell, it can be done. I've proven that it can be done. Crane videos on YouTube are tough to do. There's a reason why there's not a lot of crane channels on YouTube. It's because we don't have excavator jobs or skid loader jobs where you can put a camera up and record 10 or 15 minutes of us digging or moving material and then take that 10 or 15 minutes and throw it straight onto YouTube and make it happen. Videos typically have to have a subject, a start, a process, and an end. And in order to do that, you have to show the subject, so what you're doing, like picking a house, for instance, and setting on a foundation. So you're going to show, hey, we're going to pick this house up, we're going to swing it over, we're going to set it on a foundation. We're going to show the beginning, we're going to show the process of rigging it, picking it, swinging it, setting it, and then the end result of what our 8 or 10 hour day turned into. But we've got the 8 or 10 hours that now we have to put, we got this much, we're going to put it into this much. So there's that. And I've tried to explain that to people, like, why don't you just put a camera in there and show 15 minutes of your day? They'd be like me just doing this. Because at any given time for 15 minutes, I'm going to have the same look, same reaction, other than I'm going to be sitting in a cab with a window over here and a window up here and a window over here and a window up here with the same expression, almost same position, doing absolutely nothing. But then there's going to be that 10 or 15 minutes of, holy crap, I can't believe he just did that with a crane. And that's what we got to catch and try to put into a video. So it's tough. Let's see. Don't do two channels. You got something here. Just update your content. Sorry about typing. Parkinson's disease on my end. Don't apologize for that. Murphy's Law, that was actually kind of a spoof on Buzz Lightyear. You skipping swinging counterweights and the jibs to set up. I know that's boring for a lot of people, but I'd love to see that. A lot of crane operations is sitting and doing nothing, waiting. True story. So, Russell, I would love to, and I've got some videos of actually putting counterweights on the crane and a little bit of jib stuff and some setup. There's a few reasons why it's difficult for me to catch all that. One, I have to be outside the cab to do it. And in the crane rental industry, it's hard for me to tell a customer, hey, I know you're paying X number of dollars per hour to have this crane, but I'm going to take this camera, I'm going to take it over here, and I'm going to set it up, and I'm going to spend an hour of your day moving cameras around, adjusting footage, recording, trying to get the best shot, all of that stuff. I can't do that. So what you guys get on the channel is me be able to take a camera without interrupting the customer's day, sticking into the cab, hitting record, and recording what I can get. So there's that. I do have some setup stuff though. Setting counterweights on the deck, that's not really anything exciting. You reach over, grab some counterweights off the semi, you swing them over, set them on the deck, swing around over the rear, and you pin the counterweights on. I mean, I've got a few videos of that, but setup and teardown's tough because, and here's another reason why, and I tell the guys that work with me, if there's ever a time that I want you to hustle, like absolutely hustle, that's setting up and tearing down. And the reason being is that's the two times the customer's paying for the crane and they're not getting anything for it. So I want to be set up and tore down as quickly as possible. Let's see. A lot of is 29 years old to get into the crane industry. I got my CDL already. Never too late to learn, do something new. Nicholas, 29 years old is not too late to get into the crane industry. Absolutely not. I'm actually in the operators union, local 101. I didn't get in until I think I was 31. I'm 46 now. I've been in the world of cranes for about 12 years. So Do the math on that. About 34 when I got into the world of cranes. So it's never too late to get into it. You're never too late to learn a new skill. The more skills you have, the more valuable you are. The more you'll make. I mean, it's a snowball. So don't ever count yourself out because you think you're too old. You're never too old to do anything. You're not too old until you're dead. But I'll tell you, Nicholas, since you're asking the question, and you're probably not going this way, or you may be going this way, I don't know. There are places that you can go spend a lot of money and you can show up one day with basically no skills and leave close to a week later with a Class A CDL and crane certification. That is not the way to go. We've actually hired guys that were in that scenario. They can't drive worth of crap. They can't back a trailer up to save their life. Their crane skills are limited to engineered picks only, and they will never make it in the world of crane rental. Never. If you can make it in the world of crane rental or taxi crane services, some people call it, if you can make it in all of that, you can operate a crane virtually anywhere with exclusion of offshore or on a barge. Because taxi crane or crane rental, they're both interchangeable with one another. You're going into scenarios where you don't have an engineered crane pad. You have to think on your feet. You have to look out for overhead obstructions, underground utilities, sinkholes, manholes, houses, pedestrians, traffic, trees, you name it. You got the full gamut of everything that you have to work around. When you go to one of those, hey, pay us $10,000, you're going to leave with a Class A CDL and a crane cert, you're going to have engineered crane pads. You're going to have everything level. You're not going to have to worry about any obstructions. You're going to be able to get in the seat. The crane's probably already going to be set up for you. It's probably already going to be level, and you're just going to be able to get in and run it. That's not the way it works in the world of crane rental or taxi crane service. Definitely not the way it works in offshore or barge work. The only place that works is oil fields and wind farms, basically. High rise structures. Most of those are certified crane pads and whatnot. If you can make it in crane rental, and my suggestion to anybody getting into it, get into a company that's looking for an oiler driver or a rigger, whatever. Spend some time on the ground working around these things. Ask questions, talk to people, find an operator that's willing to teach you and learn literally from the ground up. It'll make you a much better operator. It'll be much better, much more well-rounded, and you will probably not kill anybody in your career. Russell, I've been operating cranes for 2 years now. The largest crane I've ever ran on a job. Billable is 100 ton. What's the best way to move up and show your value to an employer? Russell, that is a great question. My question to you, and you'll have to answer this in another message. What's the biggest rig you guys have at your company, and what is your company's main job? What's your core income for your cranes? I mean, are you a crane rental company? What do you guys do? And what's the biggest rig you guys have? If I can pave a way for that's another thing I love about this YouTube thing. And actually, I had an oiler that worked with me for a couple of years, Kyle. At some point, he's probably going to watch this video. I don't know if he'll watch it 49 minutes in, but Kyle came to us with no crane experience at all. Now he's a certified crane operator working for another company running, I think, a 120. Um, but he started on the ground and worked his way up. Um, taught, I taught him a lot of stuff, not tooting my own horn. I taught him a lot of stuff to keep him alive because that's my responsibility is to keep him alive. Um, you learn a lot on the ground. You learn a lot in crane rental. You learn a lot from other people. Oh, so Russell says 550 ton and they're in crane rental. Um, if you want to show value to your employer, it's got a 550, a 500, 350, a 275, etc. Honestly, and this is going to sound ludicrous, maybe, I don't know. Pick which crane you want to go after next, grab the manuals for it, and take them home and read them. So let's throw a scenario out there where you've been operating a 100 ton. You want to run that 275. I'm assuming it's probably a Grove 5275 because it's a 275. Um, and Liebherr and Tonano typically don't do a 275. They do a 250 or 300. Um, Grove does a 5275. Take the books home and read them. The upper and the lower, both books. Operator's manual for the carrier and the superstructure. And then go back to work and show them that you know your stuff. Or the other option is try to get yourself in a position where you're oiling or servicing those other cranes and spend some time around them enough to where someone could ask you questions about them and you can answer them fluently without hesitation and reservation. Because hesitation and reservation is what will turn a company off from putting you in a bigger seat. So if you know your stuff, you've learned it, you've taught yourself, you know that machine inside and out, or you at least know the basic operational principles of the machine, will go a long ways with your employer. I hope that makes sense. But that is a fantastic question. And some of it too is how long have you been in the industry? If you've been in the industry for 5 or 6 months, honestly, don't throw rocks at me for this. He says we got Liebherr, Groves, Link Belts, Manitex, Tonano, National, a little of everything. We're the same. We've got Tonano and Manitex. I wish we had some Nationals. But don't throw rocks at me for this. But if you can show your company that you know the ins and outs of everything, they're gonna push you towards that stuff naturally. Also, if you've only been in for 6 months, you probably have no business getting into a 550-ton crane. Just gonna throw that out there. I don't, 6 months isn't a lot of time, and so it says it doesn't make sense. Thank you. I've been in the industry for 2 years. Honestly, and please don't take offense to this. If you're running 100 ton in 2 years, you're doing great. Don't try to bite off a 550-ton crane in 2 years. There's probably going to be some people out there that will probably give me some pushback on that. Um, things get exponentially more dangerous as the crane size increases, and that doesn't discount guys that are running 15-ton boom trucks or 8-ton Brodersons or IC 200s, whatever, 15-ton Brodersons. Anytime you max a crane out, there's always the potential for catastrophe. The catastrophes are no less discounted from a 15 ton to a 500 ton. The only difference is the catastrophe is much larger when you go from a 15 ton to a 500 ton. And when I say much larger, we're talking square footage. So if you take a 15-ton crane and you lay it over on its side, realistically, you're only going to affect 200 square feet, maybe. You take a 550-ton and lay it over on its side, you're going to affect uh, a whole lot more than. I mean, you might realistically affect a quarter of a square mile. So, yeah, the there's I get this question a lot from new crane operators. Like, I'm only running the 550 ton, or I'm only running a 17-ton boom truck, or I'm only running this. So what you're doing is way more advanced than what I'm doing. Not really. The only difference is the accident is bigger. It takes up a lot bigger or a lot more real estate. A lot more lives are affected. There's a lot more money on the line, but don't discount the guy that's in the 15 ton versus the guy that's in the 550 ton or the guy that's in the 1,000-ton crane. The issues are the same. If this guy's maxing out the 15 ton, this guy's maxing out the 1,000-ton, they're both working on the edge of their envelope. The only difference is this guy's going to affect a small geographical area where this guy is going to affect a whole lot of area. But the same principles apply. Let's see, Felix. I'm trying to go to crane school right now. What advice do you have for me? Thanks. Honestly, Felix, if you're, I don't know where you're at, and I don't know what you're shooting for. There, there is no replacement for on the ground training. None. That I've always been a firm believer in that. That's the way I was trained. That's the way I've trained other people. I spent probably better part of 2.5 or 3 years on the ground before I ever got in anything related to a crane. And then I cut my teeth on a Broderson IC 200 15-ton carry deck crane. Probably the most abused crane on the planet. I mean, they get beat down, they get overridden, they just get flat tore up. They get put in places and positions that they never should be. But I spent a lot of time on an IC 200, and I gradually worked my way up from there. Felix said, "Do I need a CDL?" If you were going to be in the world of cranes, your first step should be get a Class A CDL. Once you get the Class A CDL, then try to find a company that you can get on to working alongside cranes. I mean, you might be a driver where you're hauling counterweight. You might be stuck out there where you're helping rig equipment or rig picks, hauling whatever to and from job sites. The goal is to get around cranes and get around people that are willing to teach you the craft or the trade. And I feel, and any old timers that are watching this, if there's any old timers out there, people that have been sitting in cranes for years, hatching eggs in their seat, whatever, if you're watching this, you owe it to the younger generation to teach them the trade that you are currently making money with, the trade that you are currently feeding your family with. You owe the younger generation that. Teach them that. Pass the skill on, because you were not born with those skills. You were not born in a crane. You were not just hatched out and, oh, you're a crane operator. Someone taught you. Take the time to teach someone else. Pass that on. And I don't get that. There's a lot of guys that are like, I'm not I'm not going to teach this guy. He's going to replace me. He's not. If you teach someone, if you're a good operator, first and foremost, if you're a good operator, you're not teaching your replacement, because if you're a good operator, you're not going anywhere. If you're secure enough and a good enough operator, your company will not replace you. They will leave you in that machine until you decide to walk out of it or that machine folds up around you. You owe it to the younger generation to teach them as long as they've earned that. I'm not saying just take anybody off the street and like, hey, let's come here, let's be a crane operator. If someone's showing the willingness to learn, you owe them to teach them. So teach them. Pass those skills on. If you don't, you're doing a terrible disservice to yourself and everybody that has ever taught you. Sorry about the soapbox. Let's see. Russell, be the best you can be on that 100-ton. Learn everything you can about that 100-ton. Know how to safely rig. Know how to oil. Know your angles, extensions, weights, your out rigging, and unlevel. So the easiest way to move up in a company is to show competence. Competence. So there's a difference between competence and confidence. So you got to show competence. Competence means that you are capable of running the machine without an issue, that you know the ins and outs of it, that you can be sent to a job, be depended on to make that machine perform in the way that the manufacturer intended it to perform without hiccups or issues. Confidence is knowing that you have the ability to do so. Now, there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance. Confidence is, yes, I can make this happen. I know the machine. I know what I'm capable of. I know the machine's capabilities. I know its limitations, and I know mine. I am willing and able to take all of those to the edge of that. Like, I can take it to the edge of my abilities. I can also take it to the edge of the machine's abilities. But I know where that definitive edge is. Arrogance is, I think I know where the machine's capabilities end, and I'm going to push it a little bit further. That's what gets people in trouble. Crane cabs are small because there's only room for an operator, a little bit of knowledge, and no ego. So, if you want to move up in your company, you need to show competence in your abilities, confidence in yourself, the machine, and your abilities, and no ego. Because if you start throwing your ego out there, any crane company out there that's worth anything will not put you in a position to throw your ego outside the cab. Everybody should give Jimmy a thumbs up for sharing his life story with us. That's not even anywhere near my life story, bud. At 46, I've got I've been through some. I know a few things because I've seen a few things. But I've also seen crane operators get in trouble because they will get arrogant. And like I said, there is a fine line. That line's about that big between arrogance and confidence. Know the difference. Absolutely know the difference. Recognize the difference. Know when you're pushing the limits. Because if you might get away with it 100 times, and 101 it might not work. A bridge can only carry so much weight so many times. An Olympic athlete can only squat so much weight so many times. Case in point, you take a guy that squats 500 pounds. He might be able to squat it 10 times. That 11th time might wad him up on the floor. Might be the same thing with your crane. So know the difference between competence, confidence, and arrogance. Plus, nobody likes an arrogant bastard. No one likes them. You get arrogant people on a job site, and I've seen guys like that. Oh, they strut in. I'm the crane operator. Big deal. So you operate a machine just like the guy that's running a backhoe or an excavator. Not really necessarily the same thing, but you're still operating a machine. You know the limitations of the machine. You know what it's capable of doing. You know what it's supposed to do. That doesn't make you any better than the guy that's sitting in a forklift or a skid loader. You're running a machine that's marginally more complex. Donald Mason had know when to say no before something bad happens. Absolutely. I cannot. The last 10 minutes has been the Jimmy I remember. Well, I'm like I said, I'm trying to get back in the saddle. And know when to say no before something bad happens. True story. And I can't stress that enough for new guys. My gosh, people. There's so many new guys out there that are afraid to say no. I don't care if you're new, if you've been around for 30 years. I don't care if you're union, non union. I don't care what the situation is. If it doesn't feel right, do not do it. Say no. It's always better to tell someone no and everybody goes home at the end of the day. And the company I work for, we have superintendents, we have carpenters and millwrights, and we have construction superintendents and whatever. Typically, our biggest arguments are with our own people. What people have to understand when it comes to the world of cranes, and if you're watching this live stream at 1:40 in the morning, you're already familiar with cranes. But when it comes to the world of cranes, if something happens that the crane operator could have prevented, the crane operator is ultimately liable for negligence. So I'll back up and repeat that. If something happens in the crane that the crane operator could have prevented, the crane operator is ultimately legally liable for negligence. What that means, and I've had to explain this to our own superintendents, if something happens and that crane turns over and I made a bad decision, everybody that was on that job site that survived is a witness, and I am now a defendant sitting in the defendant's chair, fighting for my life to stay out of prison. People do not understand that. People don't get that. People that don't work in the world of cranes or that don't sit in the seat of a crane do not understand that. If a person is sitting in the seat of the crane in today's world, they are competent enough to know and they are legally bound to a certain set of rules and regulations that if something happens adversely with that crane and that kills, God forbid, it kills somebody or maims somebody or does millions of dollars worth of property damage, or even if it does $1,000 worth of property damage, if a prosecutor wants to push it far enough and someone didn't stop the actions, ultimately the crane operator is responsible for that. People don't get it. Your superintendents don't get it. Your job site superintendents don't get it. Your company may not. Your company owner may not understand it. The final decision lays on the guy that's sitting in the seat pulling the levers. If something's not right, don't do it. Period. Don't do it. If you feel like that something could go south, someone could get hurt, someone could die, or something could get tore up, don't do it. Tell them no. If someone else wants to get in the machine and be a cowboy, then let them have at it. At least you're not going to be sitting in a courtroom as a defendant. Russell said a few techniques, but how do you tactfully handle situations when the customer asks for something that the crane isn't designed for? I specifically tell them the design limitations of the crane. I have gone so far as to pull the load charts out of the crane and sit down and educate a customer on the load charts, range diagram, and everything else as it pertains to the crane. I have literally done it on a job site. It is what it is. You are the professional running that machine. If that machine is the one that you sit in every day, you should know that machine inside and out. I mean, you're going to have to reference the load charts. Nobody can remember 65 pages of load charts and, 45 different boom modes and whatever. But you should have the wherewithal to sit down with the customer or just grab the folder and walk up to them, pull a tape measure and be like, dude, I know this is a 200-ton crane, but this piece is 100 feet away. It will not pick 200 tons 100 feet away. And pull the load charts out. Flip to the page that shows your counterweight package and your boom configuration and show them what you're physically good for at whatever radius you're at. Show them that. Get yourself off the hook. And when in doubt, tell them no. It's always better to live to fight another day. I mean, honestly, and this is one of those other things too. Probably going to preach to some people. It might make them mad. I don't care. When I got my crane and I drink a little bit on the weekends here and there, whatever. When I got my crane certification, I do not drink within 24 hours of getting in the seat of the crane. Period. No alcohol, not a single beer, nothing. My regulations and rules for myself are stricter than a pilot in a commercial airliner. Commercial airline pilots are 12 hours bottle to throttle. That means they could have a beer at noon, and then 12 hours later, they can get in and fly a commercial airliner. My regulations for myself are 24 hours. If I have a beer at noon on Sunday, I will not get it in a crane by noon on Monday. It'll have to be 1 o'clock. 2 reasons. One, I don't want that on my conscience. I don't want, if God forbid something happened, I don't want that hanging over my head. 2, I don't want a prosecutor to be able to sit back and say, you know what? He had a beer at 11 o'clock on Sunday, and here it is 7 o'clock Monday morning. The crane turned over and killed 10 people. Maybe his judgment was a little bit clouded because he had that beer at 11 o'clock on Sunday. Let's put him in prison. I don't want that. So I don't do it. If any of our customers are watching this live stream or any of our superintendents, whatever, if you get me in a crane, you can rest assured that I have not had any alcohol at all within 24 hours of getting in that crane because I just won't do it. Made that rule when I got my crane certs. But to answer your question, Russell, sometimes you have to educate the customer. Physics eludes a lot of people. Some people don't even get righty tighty, lefty loosey. They're definitely not going to understand a 100-ton crane picking 100 tons at a 8-foot radius versus 100 tons at a 60-foot radius. Sometimes people order a crane, they're like, oh, it's a 100-ton crane. It should pick up 100 tons regardless of where you're at. You might be capable of a 200-foot radius. But you're definitely not picking 200 tons or picking 100 tons at a 200-foot radius. So teach them, educate them. You don't have to be a jerk about it. Just be confident. Don't be arrogant. Be confident. Know your charts and know your machine, know its limitations, and just be confident. It's what it takes. If they still want you to make a pick that's outside your machine's capabilities, then tell them no. Because ultimately, if it goes south, you're going to be the one that's sitting in the defendant's chair. I promise. Everybody else that's on the job site, they're going to be a witness. And you might have to explain to somebody's family why you just killed their dad. We definitely don't want to be that guy. So maybe I take it another step further. I don't know. I've had people tell me, man, you're awfully serious when it comes to this crane stuff. You kind of have to be. People don't necessarily get it. People that don't sit in cranes all the time don't necessarily understand it. You're not running a forklift. You're not running a D6 or a D8. You're running a machine that has the ability to wipe out a neighborhood or kill anybody within 300 feet of it. I mean, unless you blow a dozer up or hit a propane tank with a skid loader or something. I mean, realistically, you're running a machine that has the ability to do a lot of damage and kill a lot of people. You should take that pretty seriously. And that's what I don't get with people like, man, you really take this pretty seriously, or you put a lot of emphasis on safety or whatever. I mean, you kind of have to. That's what we're there for. So, but I mean, that was a great question, and I'm sorry if I went off on a tangent about it. I mean, it is what it is. So let's see if I've missed anybody else. I'm really surprised Randy with G4 Outdoors hasn't piped in with anything, because I was talking to him not too long ago. Just left a concert. He's like, hey, wait about 10 minutes to start your live stream so I can jump on there. And no comments. But also, really, in everybody's defense, it is almost 2 a.m. Central Time. And I haven't done anything on the channel for quite some time. So there's that. I am thinking about getting rid of all this and trimming it up a little bit. I kind of feel like I look old. Probably because I am getting old. So we still got 16 people watching. Anybody else got any questions on anything that I could maybe throw an answer out at as far as the world of cranes goes? Or really the world of anything? The only thing I will not discuss on this channel is religion or politics. Because honestly, that's two things that a person should never discuss anywhere around people that they care about. Because both of them can go off the rails. Donald says, good night. I'm glad to see you're back. Good night to you, Donald. Thanks for hanging in there till almost 2 a.m. I'm going to try to get that other video done and uploaded this week. I'm over halfway through it. I should probably do something with it. I actually subscribed to, what is it? I think it's Filmora. It's like $20 a month or something, just to be able to use their editing software. That's a bunch of crap. Taro says, hello, Jimmy. Nice to see you again. Hope to see more videos. I missed them. I've got stuff in the works. I've got footage that's probably pushing 3 years old. I haven't really recorded much of anything recently, just because, like I talked about earlier, I didn't really have the drive for it, and also a lot of it's been pretty redundant. I hate doing redundant stuff, and maybe it's just me because I imagine you guys would probably watch anything I throw out there. But how many anhydrous ammonia tanks can a guy pick before everybody's like, "Man, that's enough anhydrous ammonia tanks"? Or how many houses can a guy set on a foundation before everybody's like, "Man, that's really enough houses"? So I try to limit some of that. Yeah, we still got 17 people watching it. Almost 2 in the morning. It blows my mind. So, how many of you are from not in the United States? Out of the 17 people watching, where are you guys from? Let's do a quick roll call. Where's everybody at? Got 17 people here. Where's everybody from? I would imagine there's some from Australia and New Zealand. Just gonna go out on a limb. Just gonna guess. Don't everybody comment all at once. I'm also gonna guess there's probably some across the pond in Europe. Taro says Sweden, 852, Toronto, Canada. Glad to see you're back. Northern Virginia. Miss Boots 10 at 70. I got 3510 RT for personal use. Should I work towards getting certified? You should absolutely work towards getting certified. I mean, okay, so you're at 70. I'm assuming 70 years old. You got a 3510 RT for personal use. I mean, why not? What else are you gonna do? You just will make money with it. Russell, I'd love to pick your brain. I've got a ton of questions, but I'm trying not to ask too much. I hate duty cycle work. How do you feel about it in Charlotte, North Carolina? Ron Briggs, Wisconsin. Miss Boots, Oregon. Russell, ask whatever you want. Um, Basically, the field's open, bud. Ask whatever you want. I'll answer to the best of my ability. Taro from Sweden. I actually, my wife and I were watching something on TV the other day. Actually, I don't remember what it was, but Sweden was on there. I'm like, we should move there. Lawnmower, Nebraska. Nebraska is our neighbor to the northwest. Woofy W, Seattle. Ron Briggs, Wisconsin. But I'm gonna roll back to the Sweden thing. We were watching something on TV and it was Sweden. I'm like, we need to move there. And she's like, why? I'm like, and everybody don't hate me on this, especially anybody from the West Coast. But if correct me if I'm wrong, I think Sweden makes everybody own a gun. I think it's a requirement that they own a firearm. I'm like, that is perfect because I have a lot of them. So I would fit in perfectly there. And they have a great pocket knife, if for no other reason. But they also don't get mixed up in everybody else's crap. Sweden's like, hey, the rest of the world can do whatever you want, just leave us alone. We've got guns and pocket knives and us and our cool dogs because I do have a greater Swiss mountain dog now, which she's a sweetheart. Oh, Taro said, nope, normal people don't have any weapons. Oh shit, Sweden's off the list. Nicholas, have you ever operated a tower crane or thought about doing it? I have not operated a tower crane. I didn't lose anything up there. I got no reason to be up there. I thought Sweden. I thought Sweden had a regulation where everybody had to own a firearm or something. I don't know. Maybe everybody has to own a pocket knife. But Taro, since you're on here, I have a Greater Swiss Mountain Dog. If you're familiar, since you're from Sweden, which is pretty close to Switzerland. Marquette, Alaska, 11 p.m. Great live stream. I can't even drive anymore. Miss the life. So let's see if I can find a picture of our Greater Swiss. She's a big baby. So we used to have two American Staffordshire Terriers. One of them we had from the time she was 12 weeks old until she was 12 years old, and then she passed away. That was another blow to the family. That was a tough one. This might be a tough picture to see, but this is our Greater Swiss Mountain Dog cuddling with our other American Staffordshire Terrier. So Allie is our Greater Swiss Mountain Dog. She's about 130 pounds, so she's about the size of a small horse. And she thinks she owns everything she lays on. Okay, so let's see. Let's jump into Russell's question real quick. Okay, he just pops another one up. The current job site I'm on has a tower crane, and he welcomed me up there. I'm deathly afraid of heights, but I'm not going to miss the opportunity to run one. If you don't mind climbing up there, jump in it for sure. There's a lot of people that can't get past the movement. I can't get past the third step, maybe the fourth. I don't know, fifth. Honestly, I'm not really getting much higher off the ground than about 15 feet. So if you want to jump in it and try it out, try it out. It might be your thing. There are people that need to run tower cranes. You may enjoy it. I am not doing that. I'm not built for climbing towers. I'm built for sitting in a all terrain or a rough terrain. So Russell asked earlier, he hates duty cycle work. How do you feel about it? So duty cycle work's not bad as long as you're in a rig that's really designed for it. Our 200-ton Tadano, which is a 180G-5, that's not really a duty cycle crane. Even our ATF 80-4, which is another Tadano, it's a 100-ton, 80 metric. That's not really a duty cycle crane. You can do duty cycle work with it. It's not overly efficient or fast. So it depends on the machine. We've got a couple 50-ton Manitexes. We've got two 50 128s. So 50-ton capacity, 128 foot of stick. One of them's a free swing, one of them's not. That free swing 50 128 is perfect for setting trusses. You can throw a lot of trusses through the air in a short period of time. I don't mind doing duty cycle work with it. I don't like doing duty cycle work with our big crane because it just is not designed for it. It's slow. It's strong, but it's slow. Customers typically don't like it because it's taking some time to get from point A to point B, and you can swing and boom up and cable down as fast as you want, or boom down and cable up as fast as you want. It's still, in comparison to other machines, slow. Realistically, the best duty cycle machine for big work is going to be a lattice boom crane. Boom truck stuff, different scenario. If you're throwing big, heavy stuff around, or you need a long radius, or large radius, long reach, high reach, a lattice boom will kick the snot out of a hydraulic crane all day long, every day. Just because there's not as much weight they're throwing around until you get into some of the great big lattice boom cranes. But honestly, any of the big rigs are just not designed for duty cycle work. And really, a 200-ton hydro is not big by today's standards, but 10 years ago, it was enormous. But honestly, Russell, any questions you got, throw them at me. We just will get them out there. I mean, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't mind answering questions. Lawnmower asked, "Do you have lattice boom cranes or just hydraulic?" So all we have is hydros. We used to own a Link Belt 318 with a 5 yard, I think it was a 5 yard clam on it. We used it for unloading barges, but the port that we were working under has bought that machine from us, so we don't own it anymore. I don't think we'll ever own a lattice boom crane. It just does not fit our demographic. 99.9% of our work is in and out in one day. So that'd be tough to do with a lattice boom crane. You guys are asking some good questions tonight, though, especially being 2:10 in the morning. Tara says here in Sweden we have a lot of truck knuckle boom cranes. Those we use to deliver materials, and some use them for smaller housework. I've seen some of those, and those are actually they're pretty neat machines. Honestly, a knuckle boom is very deceiving on what it's capable of. If you look at videos or pictures of a knuckle boom crane, you would think that there's no way that they can do some of the stuff they do. Um, a lot of them don't even have a winch on them; they just have a hook attached to a telescopic section of boom, and yeah, they're a whole different animal. Um, Not something we have a lot of here in the states. There's a few here and there. The railroad uses some, um, but yeah, they're a whole different deal. Pretty neat machines though. I'm just trying to keep caught up on comments here. I can't believe there's still 19 people watching at 5 after 2 in the morning. I've also seen some knuckle boom crane failures. Some of those are pretty insane. David Dunham, sorry, just saw the stream, missed the content. West Coast is just midnight. Well, welcome to the live stream at 2 a.m. Central Time, David. Better late than never, bud. Um, it's been a long time since I've been on, so don't apologize for that. As far as just seeing it, it's not like it was anything that anybody expected. Honestly, at 10 o'clock tonight, I would have expected it, but I was just sitting around chewing on it. I'm like, man, I need to do something. I know I owe everybody something. So here I am. And if you're really curious of what has transpired over the last hour and 34 minutes, once this is done, you can go back and rewatch it. So there's that. But yeah, Taro, some of those knuckle booms are nuts. It's unreal that they. I mean, I've seen some that were like 18 movable sections. I'm like, how? How do they do that? let's say if you run a tower, be able to take the sway. Yeah, I'm not running a tower. Ain't gonna happen. Russell says, at what size of crane do you usually step away from duty cycle? For example, would a 300 plus ton set trusses? I mean, you could set trusses with a 300 plus ton. It's going to be slow. Um, you're going to have to be a long ways away to justify it. I mean, the radius to set trusses with a 300 ton, you're looking at a almost 300-foot radius. I can pick with our 200-ton hydro at a 249-foot radius. I can pick 32 or 3,300 pounds. So a truss is typically less than 400 pounds. You're going to be over a 300-foot radius setting trusses with a 300-ton. That's going to be a very specialized situation. Typically, trusses are boom truck work. Not to say it doesn't happen with bigger hydros. It does. Um, but man, someone would have to have deep pockets to be setting trusses with a 300-ton hydro. We'll see. Tara says, guess it's the same thing with knuckle boom as other cranes. If you overload them, they fall over. They fall over or they break. Either can happen. Depends on which part of your load chart you're in. Taro says we have very high reach knuckles. They have like 20 plus sections. Yeah, some of those knuckle booms are insane how many sections they have in them. It blows my mind. And you would think with each section that they shove out, they've got a cylinder that pushes that section out. There's a lot of weight. As each section goes out, it just the weight of the boom alone starts magnifying exponentially. I'll see if I can find a picture of a big knuckle boom crane. Some of those are nuts. There's several pictures, but nothing big. Let's see. Tara says, okay. Miss Boots, good to see you on again. Good night. Thanks for tuning in, Miss Boots. Lawnmower, if you do any work installing or removing tower cranes with your hydros, that would be interesting to see on the channel. Taro, Palfinger is most used. Palfinger is probably the most common knuckle boom crane out there. Lawnmower, we don't do. I have yet to do anything with a tower crane as far as setting up and tearing down. Really, there's only a couple companies in our area that even have tower cranes, and they also have their own hydros. So we probably wouldn't be doing anything with them. They would have their own rigs do it. Rambozo Clown, how are you doing? How are you doing? He said, "There you are. There I is. It's been a thing." Lawnmower, kind of what I figured. I'm trying to find a picture of a big lattice boom crane. Let's see. Or big knuckle boom, sorry. There's huge lattice boom cranes out there. Trying to find one that's all stretched out. Okay, so here's one that's kind of. I mean, it's not enormous by any means, but it's still a decent sized rig. But each one of those little spots is a section. So That's a lot of moving parts. John Lane, how are you doing? Says good morning, Jimmy. Nice to see you again from UK. Mr. Toe Monster message retracted. Don't know what he threw out there. Thero says there's a 100 metric ton knuckle crane here. It's a 5-axle truck. That's a decent sized rig. And our biggest rig where I work is our 200-ton Tadano, the 180G-5, the one that I operate, the one that you'll see on the channel all the time. That's our biggest rig. That's a decent sized crane. By today's standard, it's yeah, on the smaller of the medium sized hydros. Let's see, Mr. Toadmonster. Last weekend in Pennsylvania was the National Pike Steam Show. They supposedly have the largest collection of cable shovels and drag lines. I have never ran any cable shovels or drag lines, and I've seen some videos of the steam powered, and those are pretty impressive. Probably not something that I would ever have the opportunity of running. John Lane says, try looking at they have or they make some big truck mounted multi section cranes. Well, let's see if we can find any on there. Mm-hmm. I mean that's a decent sized rig, but it's still not a. It's not like a 200-ton or anything, but that's still a pretty decent sized rig. It's a twin steer tractor, probably 50 ton, maybe 60. Here's another multi section. This has got a lot of sections in it. That to me, I mean, oh, come on, focus right there. All right, yeah, that's probably 20 sections or so. That's a lot. A lot of moving parts. And I would think those knuckle boom cranes or telescopic cranes, I would imagine they probably get heavy pretty fast. Baby, so are you guys looking at upgrading size, or does the limitation of demand for that bigger size? We'll probably never go bigger than what we have. The reason being is I can probably, in the 6 or 7 years I've been, actually probably 7 years I've been operating that crane, I think maybe we've had to turn away 1 or 2 jobs because I couldn't handle it. So for our demographic, that 180G-5, which is a 200-ton crane, handles most everything. And it's got a 330-foot tip height. That's a long ways up. I generally try to keep that less than that. I've told my bosses, I said, my limitations on setting towers is about a 300-foot tower. I can set a 310, Um, Once you get to 310, it starts getting kind of sketchy as far as getting rigging and stuff set up and having enough headroom to set it. So I try to stick with a 300 footer or less. But yeah, we probably won't upgrade. Realistically, we'll probably run our crane until it's completely worn out, and then maybe buy a new one the same size. I don't know. That'll be quite a while down the road. I think uh, I think the upper on our 200 tons only got 6,500 hours on it, maybe 66. So we probably got another 9 or 10 years with it. We're still rolling with 17 subscribers at 2:20 in the morning. It blows my mind. And we probably have some in the morning that are going to log on and be like, what, why didn't I know? So I honestly fully intended on doing this tomorrow at 6 o'clock, but I was like, you know what? There's no better time than the present to do it. So let's just do it. Rambozo just waiting for the storm. Storm. I'm not sure where you're at, but I'm going to look at the radar and we'll figure out where you're at. Um, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that. Ooh, I don't know. There's a lot of weather out west. If Rambozo Clown is in the United States, he's somewhere in Montana, North Dakota, maybe Maine. Eh, there's a little bit of stuff in Nebraska, a little bit of stuff in Arizona. So I don't know. I don't know where you're at, Rambozo, but Disneyland. Oh, let's see. Oh, I guess California is getting some weather. For sure. So if you're near Disneyland, there is definitely some weather moving up from Palm Springs towards, mm, yeah, towards LA. Oh, Rainbow Hillary is coming to visit. Yeah, I'm flirting with diving into politics, but I'm not going to do it. I just can't do it. So Russell says, using one part of line, what's the benefit of using the rooster sheave over the main boom sheave? So one, the rooster is perfectly centered over the center of your boom. Two, it gives you a little bit of extra reach, not much. Um, Russell said, I understand the benefit of you if you're using both winches. So yes, it would give you line separation if you're using both winches. Um, on the Tonano that I operate, if you are using the rooster sheave, you automatically lose 1,200 pounds of capacity. So there's that. Um, Really, if you're not running a second line, all you're gaining is a little bit of radius. some reduced capacity, and your line is going to be perfectly centered over the center of your boom. So there's that. KW900 says, "Hey Jimmy, been watching on the cell phone. Just got home from tractor pulling, so I can say hey now. How are you doing, KW?" Rainbow's Hurricane Hillary. Mr. Tower Monster, my brother works for one of the larger truck rental companies, and they had a knuckle boom come in that the frame was almost broken half, and they wanted to keep using it. Eesh. Did you bust out the JB Weld? I mean, you could, I guess, give that a whirl. So KW, how's the tractor pulling tonight? And actually, some people that I know do some tractor pulling in the Midwest. I think they're on the Lucas Oil circuit. I think if you know any of the mazes with the, I think it's the Hillbilly Binder, and I'm not sure what their other tractors are named. Mr. Tire, how he deadlined it. I would if the rig I was running had a broken frame, I'd put that thing on the put it out the pasture line too. There's no way I'd run a rig with a broken frame. No way. That's just asking for trouble. Okay, it's a third place in the M class at Tipton, Indiana. We pull in the Indiana Pulling League. Well, congrats on the third place. That's pretty good. Third out of how many? I mean, if that's third out of three, uh, but if that's third out of 30, that's pretty good. And I've got a friend that may be pulling down there in your neck of the woods. I don't know what his truck name is, but it's a guy by the name of Josh Major. KW single engine modified 8 tractors. So I don't know a whole bunch about the pulling tractor world. I do know that I would like to take our 200-ton Tadano to a tractor pull sometime on the unlimited class and just hook it up and drive, just pull the sled out the end of the track. But I don't know that they would let me anyway, since it weighs 152,000 pounds and is 8-wheel drive. I think they would probably disqualify me pretty quick. But I guarantee if I put that thing in low side and 8-wheel drive, I could probably pull that. What's the sled weigh? 65,000 pounds. I could probably drag it 100 miles if you wanted me to. So there's that. I can't say we had open class. You could have done that tonight. See, that would be fun. I would, if I owned the company, I would completely do that. I would find a tractor pull with an open class. I would show up with the crane. I'd back that big thing up to the sled. I would hook onto the sled and I would just put it in 8-wheel drive, lock her in low side, and let her eat. And I wouldn't stop until they either flagged me or I ran out of track. Taro said, I need to go now. It's nice to see you again, Jimmy. Thanks for stopping in. My apologies for it being so long in between all of this. I kind of laid it all out on the line in the beginning. So if anybody's curious or wondering where I've been or what I'm doing or whatever, if you rewatch this from the beginning, you'll get the gist of it. Kid Heavy 900. Tell me, how funny would that be if I just rolled in with that crane and Had a counterweight sitting on the deck and just hooked up and let her eat. Russell, that'd be awesome. I'd love to see that. I would love to see it too, but our owner would never go for it. He was actually pretty concerned about the YouTube channel when I started it. He's like, um, I don't mind if you record some stuff as long as the customer's okay with it. But whatever video that you decide to upload, I want you to send me the video first and then I'll approve it whether or not you can upload it. I'm like, okay, so that sounds pretty restrictive. So what I did is I edited about 10 videos and I sent them all at once. I'm like, okay, so if you're gonna have to approve all these, you're gonna have to watch 10 videos back to back, and then I'm gonna upload them. So after that 10 video spurt, he's like, just don't put anything on there. It's gonna get us in trouble. I'm like, perfect. David, that would make an amazing viral video. KW, 5,800 pound weight limit of the tractor in our class. Our tractor is Ford powered, called Fortified. That's a pretty cool name. 5,800 pound weight limit. That's not very much for a pulling tractor. How much weight are you pulling with that? I mean, 5,800 pounds. That's a crew cab dually diesel is over that. So that's pretty significant, especially if you're hanging on to 55 or 60,000 pounds pulling that with 5,800. I still don't think. I think if I rolled into a pulling tractor event with the crane and told them I wanted to go in the open class, I still don't think they would let me do it. KW, they're pulling 35 to 40,000 pounds with a 5,800 pound truck or tractor. That's pretty impressive. And they're doing it on dirt. Yeah, that's doing something for sure. I'd still like to see the look on everybody's faces if I rolled in with the old Tadano, though. Like, hey, I'm here for the pulling event. Um, yeah, I'm 8-wheel driving 152,000 pounds. Which class do you want me to be in? I think they'd probably tell me to leave. Could it be set on an altered farm tractor pull out 371 feet? So is that 35 to 40,000 in the sled, and then as you travel, I mean, naturally as you travel, the weight transfers to the front, so the actual load on the machine or the truck or tractor is going to be increased significantly. It's it's not just 35 to 40,000 by the time you factor in friction on the pan. Kevin, you might leave ruts in the clay track. Oh, I guarantee I'd leave ruts in the clay track. I've actually left ruts in an asphalt highway with that thing before. So the clay track would be not an issue as far as leaving ruts. There would be plenty of them. But yeah, I've literally left tire tracks and ruts in an asphalt highway with that crane. It wasn't my fault. They had just paved the highway and they had a pilot car, and the flagman stopped me at a certain point waiting for the pilot car. So I left tire tracks there in the new asphalt. And then as the pilot car came back and got me, we were going really slow, and I left ruts in the new asphalt with the crane following the pilot car. Kim said yes, correct. As the weight box moves up, it increases the friction on the pan. So yeah, you might have a 35 or 40,000 pound sled, but in theory or realistically, by the time you transfer that weight box to the front and that weight gets centered over the pan, you probably have the equivalent load of about 65 or 70,000 pounds. I'm guessing, which would still be fun with the crane. I guarantee I could just hook onto it and drive away with it. I mean, we just pull it away like a trailer. I could leave it hooked up indefinitely. Except for DOT would not be very happy with me. DOT would throw a fit if they saw me rolling down the highway with a pulling tractor sled behind me. Russell, tracks, ruts, and impressions happen, man. It's par for the course sometimes. True story. Yeah, I've had the old run in with the Department of Transportation. That's a fun one. Let me tell you. Ramboza said if it was mud, that could be a problem. I don't know. I've gone through mud where I was pushing it with the axles, so it would have to be some pretty significant mud. The tires are 525 80 or 25s, so they're roughly 5 feet tall, 20 inches wide, fairly aggressive. I've gone through some stuff where I was pushing mud with the axles. David, use the box to regrade the ruts out in the new asphalt. Yeah. So I got stopped a few years ago, and I was KW said even with the Grouser bars digging, and the old Tonano would not even feel it. Yeah, probably not. So in low side in first gear, it only runs 1 mile an hour. So I've got 650 horse, roughly 2,200 foot pounds through a 16 speed transmission. But in low side, it'll only go about 1.5 miles an hour in first gear. I could probably theoretically pull the earth backwards if I had something else to drive on. Russell, does DOT or scale houses mess with you much? In my experience, they usually don't know what they're looking at. So typically, no. Um, the crane's wide enough that most scales can't weigh them or weigh it. There are a few that can. I did get stopped a few years ago, and I didn't have my boom dolly with me, and I had a counterweight on the deck, and I was way overweight. So I may or may not have gotten the largest overweight ticket in Northwest Missouri. Um, I'm going to throw this out there and let you guys decide whether or not it would probably be the largest. If there's any truck drivers out there that are watching, I was 84,800 pounds over gross. So there's that. So I was permitted for 150. I weighed 164.8. They knocked me back to 80,000 pounds since I was over my permit, which made me 84,800 pounds over gross. The guy that stopped me and weighed me was ecstatic. I thought he was going to invite clowns and balloon animals, and yeah, it was a deal. He He was ecstatic. He's like, "This is the biggest overweight ticket I've ever written." I'm like, "That's the biggest one I've ever seen." So, I mean, what do you do? And he slid some scales out and he put them under one of my axles. Actually, he called in 3 trucks and he put them under all 5 axles. And he had me pull up on them. And he's like, "You got 17,000 on that one tire." I'm like, "That means I have 34,000 on that one axle." He's like, "Oh, yeah." They said, "What's your gross vehicle weight rating per axle?" I'm like, "You're going to have to call Germany, bud, because I don't have the information you're asking." But yeah, that was the deal. KW, yes, I do have planetaries on the axle ends. Russell, yeah, you take the cake. I'll see if I can find the picture. I took a picture of my ticket because why not? That was a long time ago. It's going to be back there a ways. But yeah, um, that was a pretty big ticket. That was more than a semi overweight. My boss would probably be pooping golden Twinkies if he knew I was talking about it. But given it's 2:30 in the morning, I don't think he's probably listening. Got to be getting close. Hmm. David, did boss have a heart attack? Honestly, it floored me because it was the crane and 2 trucks, and one of the trucks had a chain sitting on the deck without a binder on it, and our boss was more upset about the unsecured load warning that he got for the binder than he was the overweight ticket. So the driver of that truck got a warning for having an unsecured load for having the chain laying on the deck without a binder on it. And our boss was more upset about that than being 84,800 pounds overweight. I'm like, okay, whatever. It is what it is. And the DOT people were actually surprised. They're like, "I can't believe you're being this cordial with us." And they said, your company needs to understand that the outcome of this stop is being dictated by your actions towards us. I'm like, "There's no reason for me to be upset with you guys. You guys are just doing your job just like I'm doing my job. I've got nothing to hide. You already know where we stand. What good does it do me to be upset with you? None. So it is what it is. You guys do what you need to do. I'm going to do what I need to do. The rest will fall into place." Let's see. I think, oh, here it is. Russell, generally speaking, I'll be overweight as long as I'm in the company's good graces. So let's flip this thing sideways. Maybe you guys can read this. Okay, so we're going to break this down quick, fast, in a hurry. Gross weight exceeded 80,000 pounds. Gross weight exceeded by, oh, you stupid phone. Gross weight exceeded by 84,800 pounds. 84,800 pounds overweight. Yeah. Yeah, that was a deal. David, that chain whips off the deck. on a corner and the lawsuit would make your ticket peanuts. Joe Evans, how are you doing? Says, hi, Jimmy. I'm just getting home. Work, been listening to you as well. Yeah, and I get it, David. The chain whips off the deck on a corner and the lawsuit would make your ticket be peanuts. And I mean, it was a 3/8, probably grade 70 chain, 15 or 18 feet long, piled up in a pile towards the front of the trailer. Um, yeah, should have been put away. Should have been on the headache rack. Should have been where, I mean, should have, would have, could have. I shouldn't have been 84,800 pounds over gross either. But I mean, it is what it is. Russell, haha, dude, that's awesome. Honestly, I should probably print that off and wear it as like a necklace. That way, when I get stopped by the next DOT guy, I'd be like, "You ain't got smack on this." Joe, I would love to see the Tacoma pulling a sled. But yeah, as far as I know, 84,800 pounds is the current record for Northwest Missouri for being overweight. If someone wants to come along and beat that, by all means, have at it. I can tell you, they will find it comical to a certain degree, but don't push the limits on that. So, I didn't even have my boom dolly with me, and the Mr. DOT guy walks up and he says, "Hey, it says on your permit that you have a boom dolly with you. Can you point to me where it's at?" And I'm like, I could if you were at our shop, but I don't have that with me." He's like, "I knew you didn't. I just wanted to see if you were going to lie to me." I'm like, "There's no reason for me to lie to you. You can already count and tell that I don't have 9 axles on the ground. There's 5. If the boom dog was here, there'd be 9. But there's no reason for me to lie to you. What it is what it is." Let's see. KW, let's throw Thor's hammer on the sled to add extra weight. Oh, KW, I don't have Thor's hammer done. In all this 2 years of time, you would think I would have that done, and I don't have it done. It's so close to being done. Um, yeah, that's a. I need to get that done. That's another thing I just need to finish up. Videos every few weeks on YouTube is one of those things that needs to happen, and Thor's hammer needs to happen quick, fast, in a hurry. Russell, we've all got a little outlaw, and there's nothing wrong with that. No, really, there's nothing wrong with it until you get caught. Having the old outlaw in you when you're 84,000 pounds overweight, there's something wrong with that. DOT will point that out quick, fast, in a hurry. They will not mess around. I was fortunate, and man, kudos to the DOT people that stopped me. If you could give kudos to the DOT people that stop you. Um, I was fortunate that I was only like maybe an eighth mile from the job site, and they made me tie the crane up at the job site, and it was a bridge job. So I even told the people from DOT, I'm like, "Hey, if you're pissed about me being 84,000 pounds overweight, there's 5 truckloads of crane beams or bridge beams that are showing up here shortly. They're coming out of Warrensburg. They're all permitted loads. You may want to stick around and check them out." I said, "Because if you're mad at me, you might really be mad at them." And they tied me up at the bridge job and then left. So all the bridge beam guys got in unscathed. But we did have to leave the crane there for a few days until we got everything copacetic with the DOT and got it moved back to our shop. Yeah, I kind of feel like instead of a ticket, they probably should have given me a trophy. I would love to have a trophy back here that says 84,800 pounds overweight. Rambozo Clown, we did have to bring out the dolly. We had to load it up with a crane, throw it on a truck, bring it out, and then we did a bunch of work on the dolly. Once we got the crane back to the shop, after stripping almost everything off of it, we lightened the dolly up by about 8,000 pounds so we could start putting stuff back on the crane. It was quite the ordeal. But what do? You do what your boss tells you to do. That's what you do. As long as it doesn't get anybody killed, nothing tore up. You know, they say the best way to screw your boss is do exactly what they say. I'm a pretty firm believer in that. But yeah, maybe I should get a shirt made, like 84,000 pound club. Just wear that around my highway patrol friends. I don't know. Is there anybody else that's had a ticket that's bigger than that as far as overweight goes? I feel like that's probably something that's not going to be surpassed unless it's another crane or a super load that's trying to bootleg. Mitch, yes, I joined late. What exactly was that much overweight? The crane that I was operating was that much overweight. But realistically, a semi is not going to be 84,800 pounds over. Mitch, yes, on the road. Oh, I was indeed on the road for sure. Mr. DOT was not happy about me being on the road, but I was most definitely there. So, but honestly, to be 84,800 over, you would have to be a super load or another crane. So I might actually have the biggest overweight ticket in Northwest Missouri forever. I don't know. What was the extra weight? Counterweights? Actually, it was the crane with one counterweight on the deck with no boom dolly, which is okay to run in Europe. Apparently, that's the way they run them around in Europe. Is they leave the one counterweight on the deck, no dolly. They pull a wagon with some extra weights on it, and leave the boomer over the front, and keep on trucking. Oh, Rambo's home man, it might be some competition. Russell Pepper, have any funny crane sayings or slogans? I thought about getting a bumper sticker saying "getting light," sort of tongue in cheek, I guess. So, Russell, here's one for you. I often have people ask me how the world of cranes is. They'll be like, "Hey, so how's the world of cranes?" I'll be like, "It's got its ups and downs." Dad joke. Mitch, in Australia, we have to have the dolly for two for similar reasons because our roads suck compared to Europe, from what I've heard. Dave Dunham, yeah, you have a good chance for the whole state national ranked. Honestly, I wish they would keep track of that. That would kind of be cool if I could see a leaderboard somewhere. And really, if I ever decide to stop operating cranes and go out over the road, I know my overweight ticket didn't affect my like. There was no point violation for a moving violation, but there is a point system for CDL for non-moving, and I wonder if it's on there. So I wonder if I were to ever go drive for, I'd never drive for Swift, but I wonder if I were to ever go drive for a trucking company, if they would look at that and be like, "Holy hell, this guy was 84,800 pounds overweight. That means he weighed 164,800 pounds. There's no way we're hiring him." I wonder if that would ever be a topic of conversation in someone's office. Because if it was, I would love to be part of that. But Rambozo, you are correct. Mammut might be some competition, but Mammut probably also buys the super permits that they would need for such a move. Let's see. Can it be a CSA score? And after 3 years, that would come off your CSA score. So it'll be off there in about a year or so. Russell, in addition to your joke, tower crane operator jobs are always looking down. Ours is always looking up. Yeah. Um, I got nothing for tower cranes because I'm never getting in one. Not gonna happen. I didn't lose nothing up there. I got no reason to be up there. I am way too short and way too fat for climbing a tower. Oh, KW compliance safety accountability score. Well, that's the only thing that's on mine is that overweight, and I don't know. I don't know that they base anything off of the actual weight that you were over. I think my CSA score would probably just show that I was overweight once. I don't know that it would be like, hey, this guy was way, like blew it out of the water, way overweight. KW, yeah. Rambozo, some of the new tower cranes are remote controlled. I am not a fan of remote controlled cranes. Daniel, how are you doing? Russell is a silly dad joke. I can see that. So, Rambozo, the reason why I would never, I mean, I wouldn't even want to work around a remote controlled crane. As soon as you take the guy out of the machine, they cannot feel what it's doing, guy or girl, whatever. Um, I mean, I don't care if it's male, female, whatever around the crane, but as soon as you pull the butt out of the seat, they can't feel what that machine's doing. So, I mean, that's a lot of it, and people don't get just how much that much feeling means to operating the machine safely. So, our 180G, I think it's remote capable. If we ordered the remote in the kit, I think we could set it up to be remote capable, but I wouldn't operate it. Rainbows, I know that, but there are places where it's a good thing. The only places I could think that a remote controlled tower crane would be a good thing is Chernobyl, 3 Mile Island, Fukushima, places like that where you're cleaning up nuclear waste and you don't want to put a body anywhere near all that crap. That would be the only place I could think that you could feasibly and reliably want to operate a remote controlled crane. Because I'm not going to any one of those places. Russell said, as I mentioned, our largest crane is a 550-ton Grove. It has a remote, and that's wild to me. I've only ever seen it used for setup. Yeah, I wouldn't. I wouldn't work around it. if they were using it for anything other than setup. Being able to feel what the machine's doing is, to me, it's very important to knowing the condition of the machine. I mean, you can tell when a machine's getting ready to go south, or you should be able to. Evidently, that trait is not useful in India. They have none of that over there in the Middle East because their cranes go south all the time. But having the feeling of knowing when the crane is not well is pretty important. So much so that we got a couple new guys at the shop, and I set up one of our Broderson cranes with a pretty healthy amount of weight, and I I intentionally put it in some positions to where when they cabled up with it, it would get light and feel like it was tipping over. And I set it up to where, regardless of what they did, unless they boomed down with it, they weren't going to tip over, but they would get the sensation of the crane on the verge of going over. And these guys they're pretty new guys, so I did that intentionally and then put them in the seat and had them cable up with it, and I had them swing to the left and get the sensation that they were going to tip over. That way, they would know what it felt like. So in the future, if they're ever operating the machine and they got that sensation, to be like, "Wait a minute, this doesn't feel right. I shouldn't be doing this." I also said the operator uses it for putting boom in and shooting out that record. Yep, that'd be handy. Use the remote for that. Fully operating the crane with a remote, not so much. But holy smokes, I've been running for almost 2.5 hours. It is closing in on 3 o'clock Central Time, and you guys are still chugging right along with me. That's pretty amazing to me. Russell, what weight can your high speed cable handle? Like how heavy until it won't pick? So our 180 or our 180G-5, which is a 200-ton hydro, the one that I operate most on the channel, it's got 16,750 pounds of line pull, single line. I've never tried high speeding that with 16,000 pounds. I would imagine it would probably get pretty close. I don't know. I don't know if the winch would stall out on high speed at less than 16,000. It might. I've never tried it. I guess next time I got single line in, I could give it a whirl. But I don't know. Those Tadanos, they're a pretty well engineered machine. I would say that it would probably pick line pull on high speed. It would, if it didn't, it would be really close. And I get that question sometimes, like, which would you rather operate, a Liebherr, Tadano, Link Belt, Grove? I got to say, I'm partial to the Tadanos. I mean, the Liebherr cab might be a little more comfortable because there might be a little more room in it. Um, as far as just getting stuff done, I think the Tadano is probably equivalent or better. I mean, I would have to sit down and compare chart for chart. I've operated both. I know how they both feel. Um, because honestly, if you're a crane person, you're watching this at 3 o'clock in the morning. everybody feels like the Liebherr's the Cadillac of the crane world. And then you go to Tadano and Grove and Link Belt and all that. But um, I wouldn't trade our Tadano 180G-5 for a 200-ton Liebherr. Wouldn't happen. I'll take the Tadano all day, every day. Brandon Hall, I'm about to start my apprenticeship through my local union. What advice would you give for someone about to enter apprenticeship? Brandon, my advice would be to learn as much as you can. Turn yourself into a sponge, my friend, and just soak it all up. Also, don't put yourself in a position to get dead. So, keep your head on a swivel, keep your eyes peeled, always watch what's going on around you, and don't be afraid to ask questions, but learn as much as you can. And that goes with any machine that you're operating or learning to operate, not just cranes. There's a methodology for excavators, there's a methodology for skid loaders, there's a methodology for rubber tired backhoes. I mean, there's there's a million ways to do stuff. There's ways to go in and dig footings, there's ways to go in and dig a trench, there's ways to cross a trench. There, I mean, just learn as much as you can learn. Ask questions, keep your ears open, keep your eyes open, don't get dead. Russell, I've ran a 45-ton boom truck for a while, and it was something like 6 or 8K before the high speed couldn't handle it. Russell, you must have been running a Manitex. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm going to guess that you were running a Manitex. The reason I say that, I'm not a fan of the Manitex winches. Russell, I'm running 100-ton Tadano now. My first time on a Tadano. Something I do like about it is it'll tell you what's wrong when it starts hollering, besides guessing what's wrong. So, what series of Tadano are you running, Russell? Like, is it you said 100-ton? Is it an 80G-4? It was a National good guess, though. Wow, I'm really surprised the National stalled out at 6 or 8,000. But I mean, Manitex, and they're gonna be mad at me if they watch this. And Manitex has actually sent me some shirts and some other stuff. Our Manitexes have a 10,000-pound line pull. Or we've got two Manitex 50 128s. So 50-ton capacity, 128 foot of stick. Line pulls 10,000 pounds. If you're gonna pick 8,000 pounds with it, you better put two parts in at least, because the winches are shit. And my apologies for, I mean, I know this is normally family friendly and all that, but the winches in the Manitex cranes are terrible. Absolutely terrible. If you start thinking about cabling down, they're just going to roll. They're going to go. So honestly, if I take one of our 50 128s out, if I got to pick something that weighs 12,000 pounds, I'm going to put at least two parts in, maybe three, just so I can be pretty precise with it. Because if you throw 6,000 pounds on one part of line and you go to cable down, you're going to cable down 2.5 inches without even trying. And it's terrible. I've tried dialing them in. I've tried changing pilot control settings. I've tried changing all kinds of stuff. And the only thing I can figure is the brakes are releasing before Actually, this is what I'm thinking. The brakes are releasing at the exact same time that the winch starts rolling rope off. And it shouldn't be that way. The brakes should release, and then the winch should start rotating. And what's happening, if you get anywhere near a line pull, it's like the winch brakes pop off, and the winch starts rolling line off at the exact same time, and it's tough to control it. So much so that if I got one part of line in with 6,000 pounds on the hook, if someone wants me to come down an inch, I'm booming down. There's no way I'm cabling down because there's no way I can only cable down an inch with a Manitex. Jeremy D, it's late enough. You can say an exploit over two. Yeah, I got it. Russell GR1000 XL, if I'm not mistaken. The GR1000 is a great machine. Here's a die cast version of the GR1000, actually. But yes, the GR1000 is a great machine. The GRs are built in Japan. The ATs are built in Germany when it comes to Tadano. A lot of people don't know that Tadano was actually started as a foundry way back in the day, and then they built the first boom trucks in Japan. But their GR series cranes are phenomenal rigs. I will take a Tadano RT over any other RT on the market. Now, Link Belt has a little bit better capacity out further if you break down the charts or actually compare 110 foot radius to 110 foot radius or whatever. But the Tadanos will kick the snot out of them everywhere else. They're a lot smoother. They're a lot more comfortable. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about the Tadano RTs. And Russell, I don't throw this out there for everybody that comes across the channel, but if you ever get hung up with something with that GR1000, you can reach out to me by email at tothetopcrane@gmail. And I have several phone numbers with Tadano that can get you out of a bind. Also, if you're on Facebook, the Tadano Crane Operators North America Facebook page is ran by Tadano America Service Techs. So if you ever get hung up on something with that GR1000, you go to Facebook, type in your dilemma on the Tadano Crane Operators North America page, and I promise you someone will answer you within probably less than 10 minutes. The one you're hoping to get, if you can get Leon, if you're on Facebook, you get on the Tadano Crane Operators North America, you ask a question. If you can get Leon to answer you, that's where it's at. Because when it comes to Tadano stuff, to me, Leon walks on water. Dude, sharp as a tack. So don't forget that, Russell. Oh, there you go. He said that means a lot. Thank you. But yeah, if you ever get hung up, you can always shoot me an email. And I don't respond to every email that I get. I get a lot of emails for the channel. But if there's anybody out there that gets hung up on something or they need some extra advice or extra knowledge or extra whatever, shoot me an email. It's pretty easy. Actually, I'll throw it right here in chat. Make sure I'm typing that right. So, yeah, if you're running a Tadano rig and you get hung up on something, right there, shoot me an email and I'll get you in contact with the right people. I guarantee I can grab this right now at 3 o'clock in the morning and I can make a phone call and someone will answer it from Tadano. That I can get a hold of somebody right now from Tadano that will help me work through a problem. And that says a lot because a friend of mine has a Liebherr rig. It's a 190 ton AT. He was out on a job in the middle of the day on a Saturday. That thing decided to go all kinds of crazy on him, locked him out with a full boom out with extensions in it. I think he had 340 feet of tip height and was locked out and was having one heck of a time getting a hold of somebody from Liebherr. I'm like, dude, if this was a Tadano, we would already have it retracted and ready to pack up by now. Brandon said I've been running track hose, dozers, and skid steers in mines and construction for the past 7 years, so I appreciate your advice. Um, Brandon, the biggest thing, I mean, if you've been doing all that stuff in mines and whatnot, you've already got a good head on your shoulders. I mean, you're not dead yet, and you've been doing it for 7 years in mines. Um, if you haven't gotten yourself dead in 7 years working in and around mines, you're probably going to be okay. Um, the biggest difference is working around cranes. A lot of stuff happens from up there, like above your head. And I run into this a lot with new oilers and new people working around me. They'll get to doing stuff and they'll be stuck in this mode, always doing this. When you're working around cranes, you always want to do this. Always look up. You want to keep track of what's going on above you. David, that's worth never switching. True story. And I tell people that a lot. I've gotten that question a lot on this channel is what would you recommend for equipment? And it might be dirt equipment, it might be crane equipment, it might be whatever. My recommendation is buy whatever you can get serviced in your area. So if you're reaching out asking about dirt equipment, if you have a very and dirt equipment brands are strong in certain areas. So you might have Bobcat strong in one area, Case strong in another area, John Deere strong in another area, Cat strong in a different area. Buy whatever machine you can get service for because machines are machines. They're going to break down at some point. The biggest difference in making money with a machine is how fast can you get it turned back around and making you money again. So if you're working in an area that is very saturated with case equipment and they've got a very strong service department in that area, then buy case equipment. The case skid steer is not going to do anything different that a Cat doesn't, or a Bobcat doesn't, or a John Deere doesn't. They're all going to scoop and move stuff. The key is keeping it scooping and moving stuff. So if you're in an area where a Bobcat is prevalent and they've got a huge service area and they can be there short notice and take care of you and keep you scooping stuff, then buy a Bobcat. No different than cranes. If you're in an area where Liebherr's got the market saturated and they will jump through flaming hoops and do whatever it takes to keep you operating, then buy a Liebherr. For sure, buy a Liebherr. But if you're in an area that Tadano's prevalent or has a good service department and service area or reps in the area, whatever, good connections, then buy the Tadano. I mean, it's good business sense. Realistically, it's if it makes dollars, it makes sense. And if your machine operating or continuing to operate makes dollars, then it only makes sense to buy what is serviced in your area. And I get that a lot. I mean, I've had that question at least 25 times over the last 3 years. Like, well, what would you recommend? Because I operate everything. I don't just operate cranes. I operate skid loaders, backhoes, dozers, excavators. Um, I can tear up a perfectly good parking lot with a motor grader. I'm good with an articulated wheel loader, any of that stuff. And I get questions like, so what would you buy here? I don't know. What's serviced there? What's serviced where you're at? Is your cat dealer 10 miles from your shop and your bobcat dealer's 45 miles from your shop? You better buy a cat. I mean, it's plain and simple. John Deere's right down the street, but Bobcat's 35 miles away. You better buy a John Deere. They all use similar technology. They all use relatively the same technology, actually. Just will roll with what you can dance with. And a lot of people don't get that. I don't understand it. There's a lot of brand loyalty, and it's even that way with trucks and cars. Newsflash, everybody: Chevy, Dodge, Ford, all of them, they're using the same technology. They've been using the same technology for the last 2 or 3 decades. Buy what you can get serviced in your area. Buy what keeps you running. Unless it comes to like the stupid Ford Lightning or something like that. I mean, nothing can replace putting electrons in except for putting electrons in. But I mean, they all use the same technology. Buy what you can keep on the road. Brandon says, plus every machine has their own quirks too. You can get two of the same models in year, but they will be slightly different too. Absolutely. I have gone from identical machine to identical machine, and they both operate a little bit differently. It happens. That's just the way life is. You can have two Tadano GR1000s. They're both gonna feel just a smidgen different. You could have two Cat D6s. They're both gonna feel just a little bit different. I mean, it is what it is. But buy what you can get serviced. But I don't get it. I mean, there's so many people like, oh, I can't believe you bought a Ford, or I can't believe you bought a Chevy, or I can't believe you bought a Dodge. Guess what? Gas powered Chevys and Fords share the same transmission. Who would have thunk? Been that way for years. At least the half tons. They're all sharing technology. They're all using the same stuff. The only difference is a different brand and a smidgen different body style, a little bit different interior, but they're all using the same kind of plastic. They're all using the same kind of vinyl. They're all using the same kind of whatever. Dana makes most axles for pickup trucks. They're putting Dana's under all three of the different trucks. I mean, if you go buy a Dodge or a Ram, whatever, it's not much different than buying a Ford or a Chevy. You're getting the same technology. The only difference is where it was built and who put it together. Oh, David Dunham said, "Okay, night, everyone. Nice seeing." Night, hell, it's morning. It's 3:21. I've been rolling at this almost 3 hours. Yeah, I've never understood that. Same thing on big trucks. You look at a Freightliner versus a Kenworth versus a Peterbilt versus a whatever. You got a handful of engines to choose from. You got a handful of axles to choose from. And you got a handful of transmissions to choose from. The only real difference is where it's being put together and who's put their name on the front of it. Rainbow. So as soon as one company has a winner, the rest scramble to catch up. True story. And I'm probably going to catch some crap for this. I do have a very, very extensive mechanical background to the point that I actually was a field mechanic for years before I ever got into the world of cranes. So before I ever started operating cranes, I was repairing heavy equipment. This is just my opinion. Take it for what it's worth. If you took the Cummins engine, put it in front of a Ford torque shift transmission, and then threw it in a Chevy drivetrain, like Chevy frame independent suspension, that would be the perfect truck. The Cummins will run forever unless you do stupid stuff to it, or unless you suffer the stupid Cummins bolt failure, which is on the air intake heater, on the air intake grid when it comes apart and gets eaten by one of the cylinders. But take that out of the equation. Take the 6.7 Cummins, bolt it to a Ford torque shift transmission, which is tougher than woodpecker lips, and then throw it in the soft riding drivetrain or frame of the Chevy independent front suspension. That would be a truck. And there's probably some purists out there that are getting ready to blow me up, but guess who doesn't care? This guy. Because honestly, the 6.7 Cummins in front of the 68 RFE is a joke because the 6.7 Cummins will drastically outlive this 68 RFE, except for the fuel injectors. I mean, you might get 150,000, you might get 350,000 out of the fuel injectors on the 6.7 Cummins. It's a 7 or 11 crapshoot. But the Ford torque shift is a whole lot better transmission than the 68 RFE. And realistically, it's a better transmission than the Allison. However, the Ford chassis doesn't ride as good as the Chevy chassis. There's a lot of Allison guys out there going, there's no way the torque shift is better than the Allison transmission. Yes, there is. Because I've built both. And I'll take the Ford torque shift all day, every day over the Allison. And I'm surprised out of 19 people, no one had anything to say about that. Rambo's a clown. The Ford has a lousy turning radius. It does indeed. Yes, it does. But they got a good transmission. And I've had a few of the torque shifts, and man, I have beat the snot out of them and not tore them up. And when I say beat the snot out of them, you guys think my 84,800 pounds overweight was bad. I pulled a D6 dozer, a Cat D6 on a triple axle. It was a triple dually gooseneck behind a 2004 extended cab dually Ford with a 6 liter and a torque shift in it. It was bulletproofed and tuned, so I mean, there's that. But it was a D6 on a triple dual trailer behind a 6 liter Power Stroke, and I pulled it about 60 miles on a 2-lane highway. So, I mean, there's that. Arcades, it's still here. You're right in the trucking or construction equipment here in Alaska is different than what you see in KCMO. Oh, I'm sure. I mean, you get out in places in Alaska and you are on your own. The only thing you get out there is snowflakes and permafrost. And honestly, I would guess that I'm spitballing, so you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong. I'm gonna guess and say that probably the most common piece of equipment or most common brand of equipment in Alaska is probably Caterpillar. And the reason why I say that is they probably have the best dealer network in Alaska. I don't know that for sure. I'm just literally throwing stuff at the wall and see if anything will stick. But I mean, Cat has done wonders with creating a dealer network. So I'm speculating that when you travel to the state closest to Russia, they probably have Caterpillar networks like crazy. 060 Volvo to think. Brandon Hall, every Ford I've ever ran on constantly had issues and had to be in the shop. The Chevy I have owned haven't had to do any repairs in the past 12 years. 12 years with no repairs, that's pretty significant. So, Brandon, I would say whatever you're doing, just keep doing it. But, I mean, I've had GM, Ram, or GM, Dodge, and Ford, and realistically, I've had kind of the same outcome with all of them. With the exception of the 6 liter. I had a 6 liter Power Stroke. I firmly believe that the 6 and 6 liter means that you need to spend $6,000 on it to make it like worthy and reliable. No, Rambo said we just got some hybrid Mavericks, and I was surprised how well they work. Hmm. The Maverick, I think that isn't that Ford's new like tiny truck or something based on a small SUV chassis or something, like smaller than the Ranger. But Brandon, I've had Ford, Dodge, Chevy, whatever, and I get about the same thing out of all of them. Oh, Rambo said, "Yeah, but 4 door only." Rambo says 4.5 foot bed. Holy smokes, that's barely enough to put your groceries in. I mean, you can't even go to soccer practice with a 4.5 foot bed. There's more room in the back of a Ford Explorer. I'm guessing that the Maverick must be built on the Ford Escape chassis. If it's only got a 4.5 foot bed, it's got to be a Ford Escape with a pickup bed body on it. Not really, since I mean the Escape's unibody, but they gotta share subframes. But we have been going for 3 hours now, and it is 3:30 in the morning in my time. I completely did not anticipate this going this long. Um, but I'm gonna have to jump off here and go to bed. Till there's that. That way I can get started on finishing up that video that I've got half done. Lawnmower just shows how dedicated your fans are. You all are, and it humbles me. That's the only word I can think is it humbles me, blows me away. I appreciate all you guys, all of you. Uh, I mean, I don't get speechless very often, but I'm pretty darn close to that. So, anyway, I'm gonna go at least try to get a little bit of sleep before I. For some reason, my stupid internal clock says, "Hey, stupid, it's 6 o'clock. You need to wake up." I can go to bed at 3 in the morning. Be like, hey, wake up at 6. So there's that. So honestly, if I go to bed right now at 3:30 in the morning, I'm probably gonna wake up in 2.5 hours. My body's gonna be like, "Hey, stupid, it's time to wake up." I'm like, no, not really. But yeah, I'm gonna try to get that other video finished up. Excuse me. Um, that should be a fun one. There's nothing like getting your rope hung up in a cell phone tower that's 250 feet tall in the dark. So there's that. Putting antennas on a cell phone tower, had some inserts in, boomed up, and they were guiding me in, and they got me hung up in the top of a tower for a while they were trying to get me unstuck in the dark at 10 o'clock at night. So that's coming. That's going to be the next video. I was frustrated to say the least. I didn't get crazy with anybody, but it wouldn't have taken much for me to go to Fifth City. I was not happy. If I was one of the seven dwarfs, not happy was one of them. So there's that. But I am going to go check out and head to bed. We will get some stuff uploaded soon. I'm going to get back on this horse and ride. You guys might see anything from cranes to building speaker boxes, who knows what. So be prepared for that. Thinking about to the top crane and then some or something like that. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But anyway, thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out and riding this pause that I've created. My apologies to all of you for not throwing content out there as often as I should have. It is humbling that you guys have stuck around. So yeah. Anyway, with that, Two Top Cranes out. Thank you all. Have a great weekend. Safe week next week.